It's a great opportunity for us to learn offense, right? Move the ball, pass, cut. We just can't stand and watch anymore.
Sophie Cunningham was all grit, gutsy on the court, and unabashedly brash off it when she first came onto the scene. However, things have changed recently. Her appearance, her sense of style, and even her demeanor. In a way that nobody anticipated, it has all turned heads. She is more than just a sneakerhead. She is drawing attention wherever she goes. The teenager, who is formerly well known for her fierce work ethic, is now in the news for a completely different reason. What, then, is the cause of this amazing change? You won't believe how far she's come, so keep an eye out. How Sophie Cunningham altered the rules for herself. Sophie Cunningham didn't wait for approval. She entered each court as if it were her own. Long before the league, long before the spotlight found her, Sophie was creating something more than a resume, whether it was in a crowded gym in Columbia, Missouri, or a boisterous arena full of WNBA fans. She accomplished more than just breaking records at Rockbridge High School. She broke all the rules. 4 consecutive state titles were a statement, rather than a trend. By the time Sophie finished high school with almost 2,000 points and a McDonald's All-American award, it was evident that she lived the game rather than just playing it. However, Sophie just ramped up speed where others might have coasted on early triumph. She developed into a fierce leader and a scoring machine at the University of Missouri, starting all 129 games in 4 seasons. She had a contagious enthusiasm, an unwaveringly aggressive attitude, and the courage to drive into traffic, take a hit, and get back up without complaining. Over 2,100 points, extremely high shooting percentages, and widespread recognition were among the many stats. However, it was her demeanor that consistently attracted attention. Instead of recoiling, she struggled. When Phoenix selected her 13th overall, the highest draft pick in Ms. So history in 2019, she carried that same edge into the WNBA. However, rookie seasons aren't meant to be idyllic. Sophie was aware of that. By outworking everyone around her, diving for loose balls, trading elbows under the hoop, and shooting confidently even on chilly nights, she earned every minute she played. But after 6 grueling seasons with the Mercury, something unexpected crept in: comfort. Additionally, comfort posed a silent menace to someone who was built on fire. Sophie didn't think twice when the 2025 trade that sent her to Indiana in a 4-team deal came up. This was more than just a brand new jersey. It was a reset, a challenge. With Caitlin Clark's generational star power and Aaliyah Boston's dominant presence in the paint, the Fever were bursting with new life. The system was brutally competitive, quicker, and less secure. The spark Sophie needed, exactly. The roles of corner catch and shoot were eliminated. Every possession in Indiana required movement, communication, and defensive perseverance. It was oxygen for Sophie. Her hunger was immediately apparent during training camp. She did not simply appear. As if her career relied on it, she dominated every drill. Her versatility was recognized by her coaches. Her hustle was recognized by her teammates. She played with an unfakeable edge, whether she was pulling up from deep in transition, chasing down rebounds, or switching on to speedier guards. However, it wasn't her shooting form or footwork that changed the most. She had that mindset. Sophie was no longer being cautious. Her purpose was not to occupy space. She arrived to take the initiative, quicken the pace, and demonstrate to everyone what true grit meant. By the time the season gathered up momentum, she wasn't simply adjusting. She was establishing the mood. Although leaving Phoenix wasn't simple, Indiana provided more than just a new beginning. It offered her the opportunity to develop into something more savage, resilient, and unrelenting. Sophie Cunningham was also starting to alter the entire beat as the Fever's rhythm started to change, rather than merely fitting in. What occurs then if a bench player seizes the wheel and won't let go? Remain with us. This is only the beginning of the story. The spark that ignited the fire in Indiana was Sophie Cunningham. It was evident from away that Sophie hadn't come to the Fever to blend in quietly. She arrived to make a difference. Sophie was the backbone, the muscle, and the pulse of Indiana's daring new era, if Caitlin Clark was its face. She wasn't the team's top scorer or most visually appealing player. However, she demonstrated her important qualities in game after game, not with stat lines, but with guts and bravery that made people take notice. Everything boiled over on June 17, 2025. Clark was stabbed in the eye during a scuffle beneath the hoop during a furious battle versus Connecticut. In one quick, unrepentant move, Sophie had already crossed the court and pushed JCS Sheldon to the ground before the majority of supporters had a chance to comprehend what had transpired. The whistle blew. The audience burst out. The internet broke up. The referees witnessed a blatant justice was seen by Sophie, and it marked the official beginning of Sophie Cunningham's role as Clark's guardian for the thousands of supporters who watched from home. Although a lot of people focused on that one act of rebellion, not many saw what it showed. Sophie wasn't merely standing up for a teammate. She was protecting a way of life. No one touched her team without her permission, she made plain. Even yet, her averages of 5.3 points, 4 rebounds, and 1.6 steals didn't exactly make her a superstar. Her influence extended much beyond the box score. Every game's tempo was changed by her presence. In the changing room, she spoke with authority. Her drive inspired others to work even harder. Her acceptance of her duty off the bench was even more remarkable. The majority of players get smaller throughout that change. Sophie's mouth opened. The game changed as soon as she checked in. Where there had been exhaustion, there was suddenly fire, and where there had been hesitation, there was energy. Her purpose was not to pass the time. To modify it, she was present. Her clutch drives through traffic and long three-pointers gave Indiana precisely what they needed, when they needed it. What set Sophie Cunningham different wasn't just the skill, it was the instinct. She was able to sense when it was time to change course. Sophie didn't just play the game, whether it was using a fearless and one to restart a lackluster offense or a gutsy stop to break the momentum. She perused it. Dominance was not her style. It has to do with elevation. When they sagged, she raised Indiana, and when others were exhausted, she got them back on track. Coaches admired her tenacity. Co-workers leaned into her vulnerability. Fans may have referred to her as a sixth player, but she evolved into something more. The emotional engine of Indiana. Not the face of the franchise, but its fire. And as the season progressed, a change occurred. Her toughness was no longer the only topic of conversation. It has to do with her worth. Some players use spark to start the game. Others finish it like it's personal. Cunningham, Sophie. She did both. Furthermore, her stat line did not take center stage when the pressure increased. Her voice was heard. Unfiltered, uncooked, and steady. When it counted most, a voice that broke through the clutter and rallied a squad. However, what caused this change? What does it portend for the future of Indiana? Stay put. What follows is something you won't want to miss. The spark. Sophie took a seat. The room's temperature changes each time Sophie Cunningham talks. The reality is presented with the same passion she puts into each possession. No filter, no well-written script. She doesn't skirt problems. And Sophie did what most athletes don't do when the Indiana Fever season started to seem like a dizzying roller coaster of highs and frustrating lows. She said the name aloud. Cunningham took the mic and let go of all pretenses following a heartbreaking defeat that left supporters shaking their heads. She acknowledged that we have good spurts. But why are we not being consistent? Instead of crumbling under pressure, her voice was igniting it. She made no justifications. She challenged her team to rise above the erratic performances that characterized their early season, serving as a wake-up call. Some athletes avoid conflict. Sophie uses it as fuel. It was more than just a soundbite after the game. It was thrown into the stands, the front desk, and the locker room. You also believed her when she declared, "We owe the fans," because she did. Sophie wasn't hesitant to call it what it was after the Fever's shocking performance in which they shot a pitiful 30% from the field. Not acceptable. We will never again aim for 30%. She responded, "I hope," with a smirk that was more cautionary than hopeful. She was aware of this team's firepower. Aaliyah Boston, Kelly Mitchell, and Caitlin Clark. No more justifications. The time had come to connect the dots. Cunningham is more than simply a talker, though. Sophie didn't hesitate to take over when Clark was injured during the preseason opener. She coolly executed the free throws that forced overtime and contributed to a valiant 79-74 victory in the last seconds. It was ferocious play that transforms respect into trust. It wasn't showy. Kelsey Mitchell, her teammate, didn't mince words. She is a canine. Additionally, Stephanie White, her coach, echoed it. She contributes adaptability and toughness. You can win with her as a player,